Hello, hello, my desmadre souls. I've been wanting to work in this episode for a while, and I mentioned it was going to be about my experience with microdosing and how that helped me with my depression and well, it was postpartum depression. And I just wanted to obviously let you know this is my experience. I did my research. I started all this research and stuff since 2019. I just thought it was so fascinating, the whole world of the magic mushrooms. And I just thought it was so crazy how, at the moment in 2019, nobody really was talking about this as much. I feel like I never really guess I didn't know anything about it. And when I started doing my research, I was so surprised how much this is actually helpful towards the brain. Like it's crazy how many benefits you can get from it. And that I feel like that's the biggest problem as humans. It's the patterns that our brain creates. And then I never questioned it before. I didn't know that I could change that all these beliefs that we think and then they our parents give to us or society around us put these concrete beliefs in our head, and then I never thought I it was possible to change them, or there was really another way. I guess my perspective was Asa's perspective, and then I never questioned it. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but when I started this journey, I guess I started seeing that not because my brain thinks about it or because I'm thinking about it means it's right or it's me. It just means that's the kind of beliefs that I have, I guess, in my brain, the patterns in my brain, the hardwiring, I guess. And what I, how I see brains is like bunch of wires. And so some of them, they get very, I guess, very connected, very hardwired. Those are the ones that dictate our life, and those are the ones that help us make choices. And according to those beliefs, are how we make choices, everyday choices. And so, a lot of people that um, like are depressed or are very, I don't know if, I mean, I know a few people that are super negative. No matter what you tell them, they're just like, no, no, it's just not going to work out, And I never understood, like, why can you see what I'm seeing, like it is possible. But then it has happened to me too, when I was, before I started questioning my beliefs and stuff, people would tell me things and I'll be like, no, 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 like this is how I do things. And, and this is what I talk about in my podcast all the time. It's like we are in our comfort zone and these are our beliefs. But the moment that you start questioning and the moment you start realizing that that's not you and those are just patterns in your brain and that change it's possible, but obviously you need to do the work, that changes everything. And so when I started doing this research, I see, um, I was looking all these websites and all this research and all these things about um, psilocybin. I think I'm pronouncing it right. That is the um, that's what's in those magic mushrooms. Um, and then so when that it's the way that affects your brain is like the way I see it is like a quick reset. And so the way when you have this in your system, It's like you can, like people say, oh, I can see different colors, or I can smell this, or I can like see brighter colors, or I can think about all this stuff. It's just like a lot. It's like an overload of things. And the reason why that is because technically, it gives you like a temporarily way of thinking outside of the box. So, like I was saying, the way your brain works is it creates all these patterns, and that becomes your hard thinking. Like you start just thinking in those specific ways. Like, for example, if you are Christian, like I was Christian, and then you just think about that, and that's the only way. Oh, well, this is what my beliefs are, this is what I should be doing, this is what I should not be doing, and then you just create your life accordingly. Or that's the only thing I can think of right now. But so when that happens, um you forget that there is other ways. You forget that that's not the only religion in the world. There is more religions, there is more ways of thinking, there is more than one way for you to be a good person. You start forgetting that stuff because you are so focused on the I am Christian and this is what I need to do, or I'm Catholic, so this is the Virgin Mary, and then this is the way, and then I have to do my confessions, and so you start just being more rigid in a way. So when you have the psilocybin in your system, it gives you a little bit of it's like you're driving in the freeway, and you know there is only one way, and you're just driving this one way to the freeway all the way to, say, California. But then suddenly, um think about as you put the psilocybin in your system, and then suddenly all this. It's like suddenly you look and you're driving straight on the freeway, and then suddenly all these other back roads are popping out. Like you're just like driving, you're like, whoa, there's another road, and there's another road, and then there's a bunch of roads that you can take, and you thought you could only go to California on this highway that is straight, and it's just very repetitive, and it's just very known. But then suddenly I feel like your brain just like a blindfold comes off your, I don't know, the side of your. I'm sorry, this is like so hard to explain, but like a tunnel vision. Okay, so you're just focused on the what's in front of you, and then when you have this, it's like it opens up, like you can see 360, like it's just all around, and then you see all these other possibilities and all these other ways you can go about. That's what that does. So when you have a problem, and then you think there's no way out, like I this is the end of me, like I can't go any farther, like it's better if I just die. And I'm talking about depression, I'm talking about PTSD, I'm talking about postpartum depression, the loss of someone, heartbreak, all these things. It breaks you so bad to the point that suddenly it starts getting worse when you think about, like, say, for me, postpartum depression. um Actually, let's go way back. My dad passing. When my dad passed in 2020, I was super sad, super depressed. And so it started with like me being sad, right? And after that was just like, just sad, and then just kind of sad, and it just started taking over me. Like that became my mood every day. I was just sad. And the more I go out with my days without any treatment, without anything, like that sadness just completely took over, and that's how depression started for me. And I think that's how depression starts in general, is because it's just little one thought here, one thought here, one thought there, and then next thing you know, that's just all you think about. So when that happened, it got to the point that I was like, okay, I don't have any energy for anything. I don't have no motivation for anything. I don't want to do anything. Like, what's the point of this? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I was going to work just feeling numb. I was just not feeling like happiness anymore. Like, what's the point? And I wasn't like thinking about killing myself or anything like that. But then at that moment, I was just like I miss my dad too much. Like, what's the point of continuing living like this, just being sad? And then I started just praying and just saying, God, I feel like I don't know what else to do. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what I I, I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm working, going to the gym, trying to keep myself busy and stuff. And that year is actually the year I got into plants too. So I started like trying to care for my plants, and most of my plants were dying. And so I'm like, what's going on with my life? It was just like a whole thing. Um, and so I remembered about the mushrooms and the effect that it has in your brain. And so I was like, and remember, I started doing all this research and started getting curious about all this in 2019. So it was a year before, but so it was fresh in my brain. And so I was like, okay, maybe I should try this. And I did. And after that, it helped me a lot. Um, I realized how it was like a quick jump start. Like, okay, you need to focus. Like, there is a lot more. Like I was telling you, me, I'm in my car on the freeway, just thinking a tunnel vision. There is only this one way, like of sadness, and there is nothing else to do. And then I'm miserable, and that's just my life. And so that's the only way I knew. And no, and I know it's like hard sometimes to imagine, because it's like, well, no, what about your son? What about you have a good job? What about you just got a house? What about, and those things? And it's like, but when you're in that state of depression, you don't think about that. Like, really, and literally, that's what it is. Your brain cannot comprehend and cannot think outside of that because you are so deep into depression. That's what it was. I could not see beyond that. So when I was going through that, I couldn't see all the other pathways and all the back roads um, that life could give me. So when I sometimes you need that, you need to a little reset, so you remember who you are, so you remember that there is other ways. And I feel like that's what mushrooms can do for us. So when I try them, for that reason, I had um, I had doses, and yeah, I mean, it was just like a hard, just shake, like wake up. Literally, it feels like that. Like, whoa, like this was powerful. Like, this is not the only way. And after that, my life started changing, and I'm not gonna, it was not magically like one day to the next, but definitely now it gave me that, I guess, hope. And then it made me remember that there is way more than just being sad and depressed, and there's other stuff. um so I started the treatment for that, and I got out of it. It took me a little bit, but I got out of it. And then I became myself again. I was being happy and all this and that. Life was good. And then I got pregnant, and then that was like 2024. So now, it's from my dad passing 2020 to now, 2024, when I started feeling some type of way because pregnancy just doesn't do good with me. And then I had a hard pregnancy. My body did not like it, and my mind was going crazy. And so when I had the baby, I I talk about this in other episodes, but I'm just going to repeat it for the purpose of this um, episode for the mushrooms. But when I had the baby, I didn't think I had postpartum depression because I was in such a pain when I was pregnant. My body was in completely pain, everything, and my body, my hormones, my brain, my mind, everything was just crazy. But it's because my body was so uncomfortable. And so when I had the baby, it felt such a relief. Like, I mean, such a relief that I felt so good that the baby was finally out, and then my body was just so thankful with me. And I felt, oh, yes, like I felt like I was like, I'm cured, I'm cured. No more like sadness and depression. And because I felt like I was depressed when I was pregnant. But I think like I said, I think it's because my body was so uncomfortable. And so when I had the baby, I was like, okay, I'm cured, yay. And then um, now that I look back, it's like I was relieved for my body, but my mind was not there yet. So, but I thought I was. And so later on, I learned the hard way because I was feeling not happy. I wanted to feel happy, but I just couldn't. And obviously, part of that has to do with my partner too. Now that I am not in that relationship too, I realize how toxic it was and how he was not helping at all. And obviously, feeling like I was in charge of most of the financial, anyways. If anything, everything financially, because he was so bad at managing money. So I was constantly stressing if I was gonna meet all the bills and all the stuff that I needed to do. I guess everything fall on me, and then postpartum and all this stuff. And I didn't realize that it was depression until later on, when I was like, wait a minute, like what's the issue? Like, well, there's no way that this is it. There is no way that I am this person now, and there is no way that this is my new life. And then my best friend, she's the one that confirmed, that he's like, yeah, you have postpartum depression. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, it was literally news to me. Like, I did not know this. Like, that's how in my mind and in depression I was in, that I didn't even realize I was in that road, which is as wild, but it was true. I did not know. And that made me realize how lost I was. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, well, now I know what I have, so now I can treat it. So I looked for a therapist, and I started looking up things of how to deal with postpartum depression. And then my brain finally, like, it kind of like click a little bit. Like, hey, what about the mushrooms? What about microdosing? And I was like, that's right. I remember reading about microdosing and how it helps with depression, PTSD, like OCD, all these things, like all these things that had to do with patterns in your brain. You can break that. And I was like, okay, I think this is it. So I revisit all the research I did, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I was convinced that's what it was. And so and it is crazy. It's crazy because that was literally like, let's say, on a Sunday, and then I started right away, literally that day. I think I started the first doses, and it just shook me. I was like, I was like, wow, like it was just so much information, because it was like a huge wave of who I was. And it was like a huge slap on the face, like, dude, wake up, what are you doing? And I was like, like, I can't believe that I was so into depression, and I forgot that there is other ways. I forgot that there are other possibilities. I forgot that this is not just it. Like I'm don't supposed to be sad the rest of my life. It's just something in my brain wasn't working properly, or something in my brain was not clicking, not connecting. So what the psilocybin does in your brain is just creates like all these connections that normally are not there. It's just I don't know. You have to see a scan of this, what I'm talking about. But you can see there's like, they have a lot of images and stuff you can look at. And it's like your brain, how it works and how it connects normally. And in psilocybin, how it does that. Like, it's just like, whoa, like first thing is like one line here, one line there, and one here, one there, one crosses here, and that's it, right? When there is like psilocybin in your brain is like up and down and left and right and color here and color there and two here and there, and it's just like whoa, it's like crazy, and that's how you can think in other ways and see all this other wow, all these ideas and all these other things that you can feel and hope and just so many options, so many opportunities. It just can feel overwhelming, but it's because your brain was kind of asleep. That's how I see it, like a little sleep. And then when you put a little bit of this, it's like, whoa, look at how much more you can see. Like when you, like I've been to the caves and then to the ape caves, or there's other caves, but caves are really dark. So you just have to wear this headlamp, and the caves are huge. I mean, they're huge, but could be really scary too, because you're like this little person and then you have a headlamp and all you can see is whatever your headlamp is. So if you look to the right, then you can see, but it's just like tunnel vision, but with, you can only see so far. And that's how normally I see it is. That's how I see it, I think, for to explain it for the brain. And then when you put the psilocybin in your brain, it's like suddenly there is a bunch of lights, like somebody just turned on the lights in the caves, and then now you can see everything. And you're like, whoa, it's like so overwhelming, because all you could see first was just that little light that is right in front of you with your headlamp, and that's all you can see. And then suddenly, oh, somebody turned on the lights and you can see everything. So I feel like that happens when you become like depressed, or like OCD or PTSD, or lost someone, or you have a heartbreak. You just like your mind automatically wants to protect you, because that's its job. The mind's job is to protect you. And I think the mind is what creates these patterns in your brain, because it wants to keep you safe, not necessarily happy. In fact, actually not happy. Your mind doesn't want that's secondary for your mind. Your mind does not care about you being happy. Your mind cares about keeping you safe. So whenever experiences like something that, oh well, that's traumatizing or that's painful, it keeps you away from situations like that. And so that's how people become like in their bubble, and introverts, extremely introverts, and they don't want to go out in the world. Or some people, they have a really bad heartbreak, they don't ever want to love again. Me. Just but things like that, like it's such a trauma in your brain, to yourself, that your mind is like, no, we're not doing that again. But then you have to be careful with that, because if you allow that kind of behavior and you allow your mind to take over, then now you're going to miss out on all these other opportunities out there. But then the more you listen to your mind, the more you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Let's say for a heartbreak, let's go there. When you do that, it's like, okay, I'm not ever gonna love anybody, because eh, for me, in my case, let's say men are evil and I just fucking hate them and pieces of shits and all this and that. And then so the more I listen to my mind, the more that um wire in my brain is gonna get like thicker and thicker. It's just gonna get solid and rigid, and suddenly nothing gonna break it because it becomes that pattern. And so what that does is that I will never allow myself to love again. I will never allow myself to be in a relationship again. I will, and then not just that, but then it start expanding to the point of like, well, now I can trust not even a friend. I can't even trust this. And you start having all these trust issues. You start having all this isolation because if you don't treat it and you're not aware of it, and I'm not saying just with mushrooms, but yourself, you can even do that with yourself. Sit down with yourself, meditate, pray, talk to a therapist. I don't know, but if you are not careful with that and you don't address that, it's going to start taking over. Because suddenly one line that it was like, oh, my husband cheated on me and I fucking hate him, it becomes like, oh, now all men are this. Or now all people are this. Now I can't trust anybody. And then it can really take over. And then you just become paranoid and then you just don't ever want to trust anybody. And then you isolate yourself and it's just terrible. So, what the mushroom does for you is it allows you to shake it a little bit. Like, okay, no, 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 it doesn't have to be like that. Look, not everybody is like that, you know? Um, not, not, not just doesn't mean that you can trust your friend, or doesn't mean that all men are like that, or doesn't mean that you can find happiness no more. Like, there is so much more to life. This just means what this person does, but doesn't mean everybody is like that. So it helps you understand it with that there's other ways. And I know this is like really fresh for me because it happened not too long ago, but I started realizing that. I started realizing that I was like going down that path, um, because I was like, I'm scared that I'm starting thinking that everybody's like that. And then now I'm scared of like trusting anybody. And I'm like, wait a minute, that is not true. That's just what my mind is telling me, but that doesn't mean it's true. And I talked to my therapist about it and she agreed with me. She's like, yeah, you have to, it's good that you're being aware of it. Like that's definitely the first step because you know that's not, you're aware of it and then you're aware that that is not okay and then you're aware that that's not the kind of person you want to be. So that's my most recent I guess experience. It's my the whole heartbreak and all that. And with that, I feel like I the first weeks I didn't want to do the microdosing anymore because I was doing the microdosing when all this happened with my husband cheated, my ex-husband cheated and all that. I was doing microdosing. So that's another thing that was bizarre to me is like when I was so depressed and I was so helpless and I was just so dismotivated and just in a deep, deep hole, I felt like um I guess I was in that vibration and that frequency and then so me and my ex-husband were fine in a way. And but the moment that I started elevating, the moment that I realized I had postpartum depression, I was like, I don't, because he had depression too. I'm not gonna lie. I think he has a lot of issues he needs to work on, but he didn't want to address any of them. And when I find out about this and I took action and I started taking the microdosing and started going to therapy, I pushed him. I was like, you should try this. And he said he would and he wanted to, but he never did. And I was like, well, I am doing it because I don't want to keep living like this. And I think our relationship could improve, obviously, by me not being depressed and sad. And so when I started taking the microdosing, I started seeing the change. And I'm talking about this is what's in January when I started taking the microdosings. And I started feeling better. Like, because I got to the point that I didn't even want to, honestly, I didn't even want to clean. I just didn't want to do anything. Um, I was pushing myself to do it, but I was not very happy doing it. And so when I took the microdosing, I started feeling like I wanted to clean my house, and oh, I'm so happy. And then now I want to do this. And I started feeling slowly like this energy came back to me. And then hope. I started feeling hope, like there's a way out. And I started feeling better and better. And me and my ex husband were actually doing really good. And he's like, oh, wow, like, yeah, I feel you look better. You look happier. That's great. And then, so I feel like I was giving him my best version of myself then, because I decided to take care of myself. And then I was feeling myself again. And I was feeling happy. And I was feeling like I'm recovering. And so then the whole thing happened when he started that job. I guess he met the love of his life, um, and then yeah, he left, right? So that was for me, that was crazy, and it was that's why I was so annoyed, because I was like, bro, I barely started getting better, and then now you do this, and so I stopped. I stopped the microdosing and stuff, um, because I was so broken, and that's another thing. I was scared of it. I was scared of it because. So what psilocybin can also do is, if you are not in the right mindset, but it's crazy, right? Because if you're depressed, you are not in the right mindset. But I guess for me, because I was just like this just happened, the traumatizing thing of losing my ex-husband and the betrayal and all that, I was feeling so sad that I'm like, this is not the right time for me to continue this microdosing, because I just feel I was scared, because sometimes it can hit you harder. And if they do, and I'm like, what if I was scared to just feel even more scared, because that's something it could do. It could send you on a bad trip. But obviously the microdosing is such a small amount, like a little crumb. You don't supposed to feel anything other than just like after a while you start feeling like more energetic, more motivated in the small amounts. But I was just going through a lot, and I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to risk it. I wanted to wait till I feel a little bit better and then go back to the microdosing. um so I wanted to feel all this, I guess, raw. That's what I was telling my therapist when the whole betrayal and cheating and all that happened. I was like, I just feel like I need to go through this raw for a while, like raw, no drugs. I mean, no, you know what I mean, like alcohol and weed and all that. um I was trying to do it as much as possible, like to be sober, not the drugs. And then it just, when it got really 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 bad, and that was usually at night, which usually that's when I smoke anyways, because I can't sleep. So I would smoke at night, and that will put me at ease and then go to sleep. And as you all know, as time went by, I am feeling a little better, and life has started feeling better again. And so I decided to go back into the microdosing. And so I noticed that, like, the first week I started taking them, um, I felt like more energetic. Like, it feels like, because sometimes when you're depressed, when you're sad, when you're going through all these events and traumatic things in your life, you kind of can function. At least that happens to me. Like, I can't finish one task. I could not focus in one task. I will be all over the place. Then I will be like feeling anxious. Then I will not know where to start sometimes. So with the microdosing, what it does is like without you feeling high or anything. Next thing you know, you're like, oh wow, I already finished this basket of clothes, and now my room is clean. And then I've been like, it keeps you in task. And the reason why is because it's working in your brain. And what I also was reading is about, um so it can also help. There is this thing that is, the research they do with anxiety and addiction, like alcohol or drugs, or just anxiety about life. It, what sometimes it's called like resistant maladaptive pathways. And so the pathways, what I was talking about, like that pathway in your brain, because all your brain, that's what it is, just a bunch of pathways. So what the mushroom does is it breaks that pattern. It breaks that repetitive pattern of addiction or depression or addicting loops of negative thinking. That's what it does, potentially. I'm just talking about, this is research, it's like obviously you have to follow through, you have to, there's a lot more to it, but I'm just telling you my experience. Um, so that's what it does. It creates new patterns, breaks old ones. It gives you the opportunity. Like, I think that's what it is. I think everything in life is an opportunity. It's like I'm saying, if you're on the freeway and you are going to, like I said, I'm using the same example. You're going to California, you're going in the freeway, there's only one freeway you can go, but then suddenly life gives you all these back roads and all these other ways. And then maybe now you can take a bus. You can get out of the car, go on the bus, you can get out of the car, and then look, there's an airport right there. There's a free ticket to California. And then I mean, I'm just saying, that's what it does. Is it gives you other ways of thinking, it gives you other paths to get there. And it is your choice to follow. And that's what it has helped me. That I started seeing different things. And now the psilocybin temporarily disable the default mode network, the DMN, which is responsible for the ego and the sense of self. So that's what um, makes you question all these things. And that's why when people do the trip with the mushrooms or the microdosing, it start questioning, and sometimes it can feel scary, but that's the reason why. It's because your mind created all these hard paths along the way in your life that you think there is no other way. And it is scary when this, psilocybin comes into your brain and it just boom, it changes and you start questioning everything, and it can feel scary because you're like, whoa, like I didn't realize I could do all this other stuff. But I think that's why you have to be very careful, right? Who you do it. I think that's why they do the treatments regulated, because they have to make sure they give you the right doses. You have to be in the right settings. You have to do it willingly. You have to do your own research. I think that's the best way to do it. That you have to do your own research. You have to know what is it that you want to get out of it. And like I said, I am no expert. I'm just telling you my story. I'm just telling you what I went through, what I did. This is just my story. This is nothing for you to go and do it or push you to it, or I'm just telling you my story. This is it. I'm just sharing. um but at the same time, I feel like this is a more easy way to do it, to like reconnect your brain, reconnect these patterns, recognize how many more other options are out there. And that's why perspective is everything, right? Because you create all these patterns, and then suddenly some other people create other patterns in their life, because obviously their life was different than yours, and everybody has different perspectives. So if you can change your way of perspective, you can change the way of thinking. Imagine, that's just crazy. That's just crazy how everything in your life can change when you change your way of thinking, when you change your way of, that's not the only way, there is so many other ways to do that. And I feel like life gives you that opportunity of changing too. um and I always say this, in this podcast, go out there and do something that scares you. Go out there and do something new, because that's what's going to create a new pattern in your brain. That's what's going to get you out of the one way ticket. It's just going to give you many tickets where you can go anywhere else. Because that's how your brain is. The more you expose it to new things, the more you do, you can do this naturally. I mean, psilocybin is natural too, but I'm just saying, you without anything, you can do that. You can rewire your brain. Um, you can do new things. You can talk to new people. The more new things, the more new skills that you learn, the more you help your brain do this on your own. Also, when I was saying life gives you the opportunity for this, is like a heartbreak, like my husband cheating, my husband leaving, my dad passing, um, losing my mom, having a baby. Like all this stuff are huge events that makes you change. But then it can also make you be depressed. But it's your choice. It's like it's your choice of, and I guess it could be your choice, but at the same time, it's like depends how you were raised and what are your beliefs. Because if you don't think you can change that, if you think that just becomes who you are, like a negative person, a sad person, a negative thinking person, then sometimes that's when the psilocybin helps, because you can't see outside of your tunnel vision. That sometimes this is when it becomes helpful, when you are really stuck. It gets you a little unstuck, and it helps you, like, hey, wake up, look, there is back road, you can take this, or you can get out of your car and then here, I'll give you a ride to this other way of thinking. um so I feel like people should do more research on this, and I really think this should be pushed more to us humans versus antidepressants and all this stuff, because that has more of a bad side effects than mushroom does. If you do your research, again, do your research, always do your research, don't just do what you hear. Like, do your own research, that's the most important thing. But if you see, literally, you can check what's the side effects of bad side effects of mushrooms, and literally there's like three. The main one is that if you family have a history of what is this, schizophrenia, um it could trigger that. It could trigger it. It's not going to say it's going to trigger it, but it could trigger it. So it's better not to do that, obviously, if you have that history, because it's messing with your brain, right? And I don't know how I feel about that one too, because the thing is that you have to do it with the right settings and the right amount too. Because, but I think that could happen to any, and that's the second side effect. The second side effect is a bad trip, which is anxiety and overwhelming, because now you were, because it is a hard truth to your reality when you're like so used to this tunnel vision, and suddenly you see all these pathways, like I was telling you, if you're in a cave and you see only with your little headlamp, and then suddenly it's like somebody turned on the lights and then you can see everything around you. You can see up and down and sideways everything, and it could be super overwhelming. And as humans, that's a lot of information. So it's scary. It could be scary. So you just have to be prepared. That's what I'm saying. It's very important that you do your own research. It's very important that you do it in the right settings with the right people, and even have someone with you, or like it, yeah. It's that's why, even like I've been wanting to do ayahuasca, and like there's places where you can do them and they regulate them. People give them to you, and there's like a group setting. It's a whole thing. And that's why, because it's so important for you to be in the right place. um but yeah, definitely that's one of the things, is if you have history of any like schizophrenia or really hard mental health problems in your family, um or if the other bad effect side effect is that you could have a bad trip, but that's just sometimes it could go that way. I mean, even if you smoke weed, it's just sometimes if you are, you could have a bad trip. um and I don't remember what's the other one I was reading. But pretty much those are like the main two, actually, like if you have history of that in the bad trip. But I don't know, because some people, I tell them a few things that I experienced. They're like, "Oh, that sounds like a bad trip," and it's like, no, but it was not a bad trip, because I cried, and stuff. And it's like, but I think that's because, and this is like a bigger dose. This is not microdosing. Microdosing, you should not feel anything. You shouldn't feel anything at all. Other than, like I was saying, like you feel more focused and you feel that you can finish a task and you feel like you have more energy, things like that. That's all with a microdosing. With a bigger dose, that's where the bad trip could come along, because it's a bigger doses of, like, look at all these things, and then you can see brighter colors and you can see all this. It's just way crazier, like your vision increase, like your smell, everything is just like Spider-Man. um yeah, it's just hard to explain. I'm just bear with me. I'm trying to do my best to explain all this. And then but yeah, I mean, I think this is such a, like, good thing that I think nature gave us to cure ourselves, to realize how much more. And another big thing too is it connects you with nature. I feel like the first time I had them, mm, make me connect more with nature, with animals. That's how I started liking plants too. Started going in hikes more. I mean, I always kind of like hikes and stuff, but I felt like I could understand that. Wow, like it kind of strips you away from all this materialistic stuff, and then you realize, like, I need to connect with nature. Like, I need to connect with myself. Like, who am I? Like, you start thinking of these things that are important, and then we forget to think about. And I feel like just being human is just hard in general. I feel like it's just hard because you have to connect with yourself. You have to learn, how to navigate through this world, how to be a mom, how to be a dad, how to be a friend, how to be, it's just a lot of work, and everybody's going through stuff. So I feel like this has been helpful for me. And every time that I'm going through major things, like I said, I lost my dad. I had postpartum depression, and then the heartbreak. Those three huge things in my life. This is the things I've been using. And it has been helpful. And when I posted in my Instagram that my next episode was about microdosing, this is what I've been working on, just because I've been on the microdosing, and I just wanted to have a little bit more of the experience to come back and let you know. And also because it's so hard to explain, really, with words, until you actually experience it. And then my allergies too are killing me. So excuse me, I'm losing my voice and just coughing and going all crazy. But anyways, um, yeah, I feel like this has just been a really good journey, and I feel like I am glad that I did the first weeks of my heartbreak. Um, I guess just raw, and I mean, it was not just a few weeks. I mean, it's been now more than a few weeks. But yeah, I recently started doing the microdosing, and definitely, I wanted to feel okay with it, like make peace with it, and then do the microdosing, because I feel like, okay, I already grieve, my family, I already grieve my marriage, I already grieve all this, because you need to feel it. You need, and microdosing doesn't take it away from you, but I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure that part out. Why is it that I needed to do that? Like, I needed to feel it raw. And then I guess because I'm really into the into the human experience thing that I preach all the time, and I just wanted to feel it raw. And but then I got to, okay, enough is enough. Time to go out there, hang out. But I think like I never really stopped, but I feel like I'm doing it more. I'm going out there and stuff. And then once I started feeling okay, I already did my healing on this aspect of things, of grieving and stuff. Okay, time to now work on myself for this and that. Now time to organize my house here and there. And then that's when I was struggling, because when I was folding clothes or doing boring duties, boring tasks, that's when it used to draw me back to maybe try to feel a little depressed. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. This is not okay. So then I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a good time for me to start the microdosing. So I started a little microdosing, and that's what started keeping me on check and on track with my task. And then now I feel more like my brain is functioning better. I'm getting all these, I guess, ideas, all these things that I can go about with my life. I'm reconnecting in other ways with myself, with my family, um, just seeing life differently, and then seeing that this is a new opportunity for me, new beginnings. And yeah, I know this is like a lot, but and I tried to explain the best I could. So if you make it all the way to the end, I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any questions, or if you want me to talk about more about this, each experience, I can definitely do that, because I have a lot of experiences with all this whole trip. So let me know. And don't forget to do something that scares you today. Don't forget to get yourself out there. Now you understand there's a reason why, because neuroplasticity. You need to connect your brain. I mean, we have a beautiful brain. Use it to the fullest, use it to the max. And the only way you can do that is you need that experience, not just the same repetitive routine all the time. Get out there and look funny, look ridiculous. Just do it. Do it for yourself. Literally, that's what we're here doing it for ourselves. Nobody can grow your brain. Nobody can teach you how to be you. You have to learn it on your own. You have to do this for yourself. And I feel like our human experience gets better once we do that. So, anyways, have a good weekend.